we are in the Sulky right here at the Big M, and we have Big Jim's owner with us, Jim Carr, joining us. Jim, fresh out of the car here coming down from Canada. You had about a 7.5 and 8 hour drive. You brought your driver with you, Phil Hute, on a big family affair. How was the trip down from north of the border?
It was pretty good. We had a tough time finding a place to stay last night. I guess with graduation, all the hotels were booked up, but we got a room at 4 o'clock.
Got a room at 4 o'clock, but you're all set to go for tonight with Big Jim. We'll get to tonight's race a little bit later. First, let's talk about how he wintered this year. Came back, filled out nicely. You're all set for a big 3-year-old season?
Yeah, he had a couple of months off in the paddock, and he's easy on himself. He doesn't, not rambunctious in the paddock, but he filled out tremendously in the rear end. Looks like he's just ready to go this season.
Now, there's a great sub-story to Big Jim, or subplot, I should say. You have an old friend who's been around harness racing for a long time as a trainer. He's living down in Florida. You wanted to get him back in the game, and that's a big part of why you're here right now.
Yes, Stu Ferlot trained for me for 25 years. Had a stroke in 2003. I got out of harness racing. Last year, I said, I'm going to buy a horse, Stu. We're going and getting you back to the races, and I wouldn't have Big Jim if it hadn't been for Stu, because he was going to a sale, and I tagged along, and that's where I bought Big Jim.
And you bought him for $35,000, which ironically enough was your max price pretty much. You were capped out right there.
Yeah, $35,000 what I wanted. The other big towner colt I purchased, How Am I Doing, as a yearling, I paid $35 for him and had good luck. So I put a price of $35 on him and was lucky to get him.
And the big towner angle was a big part of the reason why you looked at Big Jim in the first place. You liked that breeding, and it was a hunch play for you.
Yeah, I like big towners, and actually the mare's name is Bold Pink, and my nickname is Pinky on the golf course. So the combination of all those things led me to look at this horse.
And now you have actually his half-brother, I think you bought for $100,000. How's he doing, the young 2-year-old?
He's lazy. He's got ability. We gelded him this week. I put a maximum of $100,000 on him, and I started out the bidding at the maximum, and I was either going to get him or not get him.
And that's Bold Blue Hanover. We could see
that's
him.
Bold Blue. I'm going to rename him, I think, Big Michael, after my son.
That's great, Big Michael. And you are, of course, Big Jim, and you have both brothers now. I mean, you've actually fielded, maybe not from your own shopping, but you've received many phone calls. It's been widely advertised. 7 figures in terms of getting a share of this horse. The only time I ever see 7 figures is if there's a decimal point in there at some place. How does it feel to turn down 7 figures? And talk about your decision-making process and wanting to go this by yourself with Big Jim.
Well, it's tough to turn down $1 million, but for 25%. But I decided I didn't want any partners. I want to promote with this horse. He's going to various tracks like Grand River up in Ontario. They're having a day for him, giving away posters when he's not racing. And if I had partners, they maybe not allow me to do these things. So I said I'm going to do it all myself, and I'm still working, so I could afford to do it.
There was one partner that you were strongly considering getting involved with, and that's Jerry Silva, because he's had a great deal of success with a lot of the marquee horses here.
Yeah, I had dinner with Jerry Silva at Harrisburg, and him and his wife. I invited him to Canada, and we talked. I like Mr. Silva and Teresa very much, but I just finally decided just to keep him myself.
And how about Big Jim in particular himself? What point in his 2-year-old season did you say, you know what, we might have something special here with this horse?
Well, my wife always said you shouldn't be saying that this horse is special, but all over the winter I liked the way he trained, the way he took care of himself. And probably in his first baby race, we knew that we had something. How good he was, we did not know, but we knew we had a special horse.
And, of course, it culminated with the world record in the Governor's Cup, but the race that may have stamped him, the 2-year-old champ, both north and south of the border, the O'Brien Award winner and the Dan Patch Award winner, was his Breeders' Crown triumph. And we're going to show you that rolling now from Pocono Downs in last fall. That's Big Jim there to the inside. Take us through the stretch drive and how you were feeling.
Well, I was standing in the stands. I knew the passing lane was there, and this horse, young horses sometimes won't go inside, but I knew he would. And once Phil saw that passing lane, he just shot through, and the driver, Shady Stark, said, I had you beat. He couldn't believe that we won. And Phil said, if I known that the world record was only a 1/5 of a second faster, I would have beat it.
Now, how about in terms of world records? Are you looking to match something this year as a 3-year-old? Are you looking to get some serious speed and push the envelope with that 147 3-year-old world record?
My ambition, one of my ambitions with this horse is that he's the fastest 3-year-old. I think, given the right conditions, I think he can be. We have not tested the waters with this horse as a 2-year-old. The last race we just let him go on the stretch, but prior to that we just raced him fast enough to win.
How about the roadmap for his 3-year-old season? What's it going to look like panning out? Where are you sending him throughout the year?
Well, after next week, he's going back to Canada to race in the Some Beach Somewhere, which is the old Burlington Stakes. And then the following week is the eliminations for the North America Cup. And then he's almost got a month off. His next race, we're going to skip the New Jersey Sire Stakes, and we'll come back here to the Meadowlands and race in the Meadowlands Pace, and then we'll go New Jersey Sire Stakes, and then back here to the Oliver Wendell Holmes. I'm thinking of buying a house down here. I'm going to be down here so much.
Well, if Big Jim does what we all think he's going to do this 3-year-old season, I'm sure you're going to have the funds to do that. We'll certainly welcome you here into New Jersey. But how about yourself as an owner? A lot of people know about Big Jim, but how about Jim Carr? What does Jim Carr do other than own Big Jim?
Well, my wife says she's a golf widow. I'm a scratch handicap golfer. I've had 10 hole-in-ones. My son went to university on a golf scholarship. I have a company that employs 10 people delivering court documents. I've worked, long hours in my business, and then on the weekends play golf, and always had horses at night to go watch. So that's pretty well my life, those 3 things.
Now, you mentioned Some Beach Somewhere before, a horse that was deemed as Canada's horse and had a huge following in Canada several years ago. How about Big Jim? Is he starting to get that push from O Canada?
Yeah, I think he is. He's beat Some Beach Somewhere's record, and if we come close to doing what Some Beach did, he's going to have a hell of a year. Some of the emails of Standard Breed Canada are from people saying they come to watch Some Beach in the North American Cup from Newfoundland, which is a long ways away, and they're coming again this year, but to watch Big Jim. So he's got a following right across the country. There's a guy in Vermont that I send one of my hats to. He says, I'm president of the Big Jim Club in Vermont. He talks to me almost weekly. I don't know how many members he's got. He might be the only one. I don't know. But there is a strong following of this horse in Canada.
Well, I'll tell you what, he's got a strong following here, too, because I am now officially a member of the Big Jim fan club, and I think after we see him the next couple of weeks, we're all going to be a big fan. We certainly appreciate you taking the time to come down here and talk with us, and we wish you the best of luck on a huge 3-year-old season with Big Jim.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I just like to invite any kids that are here, if he happens to win a race here at the Meadowlands, or any of my horses, you're welcome to come out and get your picture taken.
Well, that's great. So all the kids come on out to the rail, and as soon as Big Jim crosses the wire first, just drop into the winner's circle.
Just drop in the winner's circle. He loves kids.
A real horseman and a real sportsman here. Jim Carr, thanks again so much. Best of luck, Jim.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back with Bob Hollywood Hayden. We'll take a look at the New Jersey Classic Prep, and then, of course, the Pick 4 and the Daily Double. So stick around. A big Saturday night here at the Big M.